We are live on Facebook. Good afternoon. I'm Beth Copeland with Georgia Christian Business Network, and we are putting God back in business. It's Take Charge Tuesday Power Call, and am I excited today? I have an outstanding presenter speaker, a Georgia Christian Business Network corporate can't talk, corporate sponsor, Mrs. Erica Jackson. She is near and dear to my heart. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. And I just thank God for her every day. I thank her for just being a support. Her and her husband, William, their business, CYE Enterprises out of Jacksonville, Florida. We promoted her for the last month now to let you know that she was forthcoming and that for you to get here. And so great opportunities over on Facebook Live already. But what we want to do at this point, Erica, we want to welcome you to the platform, but we want to allow you an opportunity to speak to us from your heart. Who are you, what you do, and why it is important for us to know that? Because we've given the formal bios before. Now speak to us from your heart. Introduce yourselves to our audience.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so honored to speak to each of you today. And I'm really hoping that some of my experiences and insights will help to elevate your thinking. And the goal for me is always to change your view or perspective, because I believe that's everything. But as Beth has asked, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the president and CEO of CYE Enterprises. Let me backtrack that. First, I'm a child of God. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of two. I'm the president and CEO at CYE Enterprises, which is a federal construction firm and roofing firm. And I've been blessed to start a business, work a business, and see it grow. We have locations throughout the Southeast. We work on regional and national contracts across the United States. And our business continues to be a blessing to us, our amazing team, and our families.
Wow, outstanding, outstanding. I'm so excited just to hear you repeat that, although I know all that. And I am so looking forward to jumping in here and allowing you to drive. And I love you already talked about a little and alluded to your title for today, because you understand, and I will just position this for those that don't know, that this entire year, we're decreeing and declaring that this is the year of elevation. Elevation 2022. And Erica, a lot of people already, here we are on February 8th, have experienced opportunities where they've lost loved ones, where they've had opportunities to have broken relationships and illnesses and any number of things, lost their jobs perhaps, or just businesses and booming like they thought it would at the first of the year. And they're wondering, well, what is she talking about? Elevation 2022. And I just love the way God just blessed me, and you inspired me even when our conversation on yesterday was so encouraging. And so I said, I can't wait for our members in our community to hear some of the tips that you're going to share with us, because this is still, God said it, it's still the year of elevation. So I don't know where you want to start, but you just jump out there and just start letting it roll. And we need to hear it.
Well, Beth, we'll work in the spirit as we always do. This isn't part of what I had planned today, but I want to piggyback off of what you just said. I experienced loss, my family. New Year's Eve, we lost my grandmother, Helen. I know you've recently experienced loss.
Yeah.
And it's part of life. And I know what you mean when people are saying, maybe things aren't going great the beginning of this year. And I claim so many wonderful things for 2022. Maybe I've had a loss in the family, but I still talk about perspective a lot, because it's how you see yourself, other people, everyday occurrences. It's how you see what happens to you. So I believe strongly that it's not what I go through, but how I view it, my perspective. I
Wow.
want to tie,
Yeah.
this is wonderful. I want to tie this into when we elevate our thoughts and we think differently, we have a different view, a different perspective. So even when those things, trouble in life's going to come, it's going to keep coming. Trouble in business is going to keep coming. But when we elevate our thoughts and we have that different perspective and we're seeing above it, it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt or it's not challenging, but we keep pushing.
Oh,
We
I
keep
love it,
pushing.
love it, love it.
So
Yes.
I really wanted to touch on that, what you said. I'll jump back into, as Beth said, this year, I love the theme of elevation. And I quickly thought, as soon as Beth shared the title with me, I was like, well, I could think of elevation in so many ways. In construction, vertical construction, I can think of elevating. We just put in a vertical lift, an elevator in a building. But what mostly comes to me is elevating your thoughts. Because then no matter the circumstance, the situation, then that mindset stays with us. And I had an experience a few months ago that made this concept even clearer to me. In my line of business, there's quite a bit of travel. During the height of COVID 2020 and most of last year, I didn't travel at all. Well, as things started to open back up, it was time to travel. My first trip was to Chicago, and I've made this trip countless times in the past. So, even when I go back and I think as I entered the workforce right after college, every position I've ever had required travel. And so I don't know if it was because I hadn't traveled in so long, but I was excited about this trip. I don't know about you all, but COVID made me appreciate some things that I had taken for granted. So as I'm preparing for this trip, I started to ponder, what is it that I enjoy so much about traveling, specifically flying? And I started to think, I love the elevation. I love that 1 minute I'm traveling on a busy road, I'm running through the airport, and minutes later, quickly, I'm ascending. And what's the thing that changes so quickly is the view. I'm not one of these people that watch movies or do work on the plane. I'm enjoying the view. So,
Wow.
just minutes ago, I was ground level. And when I'm traveling in Jacksonville, like most cities, there's traffic, there's noise, there's commotion. But as I start to ascend, it takes something really big to distract me or to get my attention, like a skyscraper or an arena. And that's the way, as I sat there on this trip, I thought, how can I make my life this way to where the small things don't distract me so much? They don't hinder me. They're not stumbling blocks. You know
Awesome.
what I mean, Beth?
I'm tracking and I'm all intent on this thing. Keep going.
All right. So it made me come to my first point, how to limit your distractions while changing your view. Now,
Ooh.
this has always been very important in my life and in my business journey. And I'll be honest, it's difficult. We have families, we have children, we have work, we have things we're passionate about, but it's critical to clearly know your assignment
Come
and play your
on.
position. Play your position so that the goals are achieved.
So you've got to know your assignment so that you can play your position so the goals are achieved. I love it. But I'm still stuck here. You said this is they want you to repeat point one. I'm going to let you do it. You
All
go
right.
ahead. I was going to
Point
read.
one is just like I saw when I was in the plane, everything is so clear from above. And I wanted to translate that and correlate it to my life to limit my distractions as I change my view.
Limit your distractions as she changed the view. And that is so key. And I'm so glad Lisa's over on the Facebook side of the house. Thank
Hi,
you so much,
Lisa.
Lisa Muth. She is so awesome. And she has a great following there right now. And so they wanted you to repeat that. And we were on the same page, because I was like, she just flowed right through that. Like that wasn't too much of nothing. Girl, that thing's so powerful.
Thank you.
That is so powerful, because the where you got me though is because I'm tracking with you. You're in this traffic and you're headed to the airport in your car, and you're in your vehicle, and all of this stuff happening all around you. And then I'm visualizing all of this. And then when you describe that I'm not trying to do the computer thing and I'm guilty, or reading a book or studying or something I'm doing, and you're looking at the view.
I'm looking at the view. And those things that at ground level are so huge, and think about this in your life, those things that seem so huge, as you exalt and go higher, they're not as large.
No,
Just like when I'm in that plane, those skyscrapers look like ants. They look like
truthful.
tiny buildings. And so
Yes.
I'm always one to correlate things back to my life and say, how can I experience that in my everyday life, to where troubles are going to come?
Yes.
They're unavoidable, some things. So how do I keep moving and change my perspective on how I view those things that happen to me? Now, it sounds simple, but it's the execution that's challenging. So I'm a construction person. I'm an extreme type A personality. So let's get to the execution.
Come on
First,
now.
first, I choose daily to exalt God above all things in this world. And as I focus more on Him, and He fills up more of my heart and who I am, by doing so, my mindset is elevated. It's so easy to get caught up in the rat race, the competition for likes, the most recognition, the hype of riches, fame. But all of those things I've learned are intended to feed the ego and not further me on my assignment.
Girl, come on.
So
Oh
I've learned to
my
pray
God.
that I decrease so that God can increase. And as He increases, there's less room for me to be distracted by all of the occurrences that are everyday part of life.
Erica, this is so powerful. This is just so timely. And I knew it. And although you're talking about some things that we didn't talk about yesterday, because I feel a fresh anointing on you. And I mean, it's just like this morning, just God's just, you just are soaked in what He would have you to say for us. This is a right now word. And I hope everybody, including myself, that we're embracing it. That's the second time this morning that God brought that to me about I need to decrease that He increase. Lisa Muth, as a matter of fact, I read her post this morning, and it resonated with my spirit, man. And see, the challenge that we're experiencing in life is those tiny things. And in the scheme of things, is what you're saying to us right now. The scheme of things, of what you're sharing to us right now, is that the opportunity is those things can be distracting for us.
Yes,
Is that, yeah?
that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. So as God increased in my life, I exalted and elevated Him. There was less room for all the other things that often tie up your time, your thoughts, your energy, and they seem small. They seem small, but they stop the progress. They can set you back, especially if they're shifting your mindset. Now, we don't know how long it will take for you to retrack or to refocus. So it seems like a small occurrence or a small disruption, but in the grand scheme of things, it takes you off of your purpose and it takes you off post of your assignment.
Right.
I'll ask the group, has anyone ever had a productive day or week plan and then something throws you off track. You get a bad
Okay.
call, you get sidetracked scrolling on social media or watching TV, not to condemn any of that, but you lose your motivation or simply run out of time. Now your good intentions were in vain because you didn't protect your focus by limiting your distraction.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the result is that nothing changed. You didn't progress
Wow.
towards your goal because of those small missteps, distractions.
Wow. Wow. Oh my God. This is so good. If we understand the assignment, and my assignment isn't someone else's assignment.
Oh,
See,
you're speaking to me.
that's the opportunity here, because the issue is this, is I look over here, and sometimes the distraction doesn't necessarily come because of outside. It could be up here. That's why you're talking to us about the mindset. And
Yes.
I'm wanting to do what God has assigned, and I am not valuing what He's assigned for me to do.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Do you
It
think that
does.
has a factor?
And now
Yeah.
you're already in my point too.
Okay.
So we're
So
thank you, Beth. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But you're so right, is that most of the time the distraction isn't external, it's internal.
right,
That
right.
procrastination or that desire to be fed by social media and watching someone else's experience and making you not content with your assignment and your position in this day. But we'll get there. So, but I want everyone to continue to note and focus, limit your distractions. And I'll share this with you. When me and my husband first started CYE over 15 years ago, we operated out of a small bedroom in our home. Every day, we worked as if we were punching the clock for a large corporation. We looked for opportunities, we made calls, and trust me, during those days, there weren't any incoming calls. We were intentional about our marketing efforts and how we spent our time during the day. So now this was very important so that we stayed the course. Those things seem small, but our goals were to take those small steps, acknowledge those small wins, and to stay focused to achieve our short-term goals while we planned for our future success. And before you know it, you look back and those small steps have turned into something so big to be thankful for.
Wow.
And I'll say this, it would have been easy to sit at home every day, read about other people's journeys, look online and envy other people's progress on their entrepreneurship path. But what I've always understood is this: my assignment was thought out, created, and issued specifically to me by the Creator. Knowing that makes me grateful for my journey at every different stage.
If you miss me, I'm just running around a little bit, and I'll be back. And y'all just keep going, okay? This is so good. And I've got a comment. Lisa saying, she's stepping all up in my Kool-Aid. Yeah, I know, but it's a good thing. And I love Kim. Thank you all for joining us. Kim, Jessica, Chi, Kim, all of you on over here, William. On we're just got a little full house over here too, Lisa. But what the comment Kim made says sounds good, okay? And I want to just put a little housekeeping out there. If you're wanting to get on Zoom and your name is not recognizable and it says something like iPhone or iPhoney or something cuckoo, I'm sorry, you got to identify yourself before I can allow you in. We had some challenges last week, but we want you here. So I'm sending you messages. So just let me know who you are and we'll come on in. Okay, but this is good because the opportunity that people want to get to, oh, Erica and William Jackson, CYE, you got government contracts, you're doing great things, but you just took us back to probably a starter home.
Yes.
A starter home. Yes. And an extra bedroom.
Yes.
And that's an office for you.
Yes.
Okay.
A guest bedroom when people are there, office when they're not there.
Who shall despise the day of small beginning? But another thing you said that is so strong for me, and that I really, really hope that we'll hold on to, is that you clarified with God the vision. You
Yes,
didn't confer with man. I think about how Paul said, I didn't confer with man. It was God, William, and I. And so
yes,
the opportunity is this: if we will hear what God speaks to us and stop trying to receive validation from everybody else, trying to tell you how to do something, they probably don't even understand what your vision is,
right.
because they didn't hear the vision. God gave you the vision, and sometimes you got to run with that vision, and it's a lonely run sometimes.
It is. It is. And
Yeah.
I'll say, and to piggyback off of what you said, is that when God gives you the vision, the excitement that you have, the clarity that you have, is something to hold on to be to hold tight. So when you're tempted to go and share that vision, especially when you're not even clear all the way, or you haven't bought in all the way on this vision, you're sharing pieces of a story that you don't even know the ending of, because that's by faith that we'll walk and see this journey through. So you'll share a piece with this person or that person and their doubt, or maybe their insecurities or their fear, or even maybe their negative wishes for you. Now are taking a piece of that excitement away. And on this entrepreneurship journey, you need all the conviction and steadfastness that you can hold on to. So throughout our journey, William and I have made sure that you more so see our journey as we walk it out, if you're close to us, but to speak on it. And sometimes I know you're maybe doubting on what your plan is, but go back to God. Be prayerful on that thing, plan out that thing, do more research. If you're going to seek counsel, seek someone who's like spirited, an expert in your field, but hold dear to those thoughts. I know we all have amazing thoughts and ideas. And if we want to see those through, we have to take those to God and see if they match up with his will, and then walk out on that assignment. And once you know your assignment, you know the lane that you're supposed to stay in.
Right, right,
And
right.
you can carry that out. But talking about the assignment, and when you have these ideas, my next point in elevating is something we've all heard before, but I have to say it is building on a solid foundation. And that's our foundation we just spoke of, is in going to God. And look, I understand the excitement is in what you see. Even when you're
Okay.
building something, especially a business or in construction, you want to see the building go up. I've never
Okay.
heard anyone say, that's a beautiful foundation, or those footings sure do look solid. But without that foundation, everything else means nothing. As soon as the first strong wind comes, everything risks being destroyed. And that's the
Okay.
same way with our business, our ideas, and even the path that God is telling us that we should be walking on. It's about the foundation. And it's not just in building and construction, it's in any business. Oftentimes the planning, the design, and the pre-construction phase take longer than it does to even do the on-site construction. And there's a reason for that, is that
Huh?
the foundation is that important. Likewise with your business, there should be a solid foundation built on God's word.
Uh-huh.
And while
Uh-huh.
you're building the foundation, it's important to be prayerful, to plan, but not be stuck on how things should go. So be flexible and seek counsel, like I said, of experts in your field, and just continue to be prayerful throughout that whole journey, not just when you're deciding what to do, but as you're going through that whole process.
Wow. Well, now when you talk about the foundation, a lot of people like I said earlier, who shall despise a day of small beginning? Okay. And so a lot of people oftentimes are more focused on, I want to go to the top. I'm someone's boss. And I remember something, I was waiting to hear this, and I hope it's okay to bring this out, that you shared at GGG when you were our keynote. And I've already put it out there. We've already put it out there that you are our luncheon speaker for GGG 2022. And listen, ladies, you're in for a treat. But you said on a given day, whoever answered the phone was the secretary or the receptionist. The humility in that.
Yes.
If your husband answered the phone, then he was the secretary. Hold 1 second, or I can't do it like you did it. But do you recall that piece that you shared with us?
We started in our home, and when we eventually moved into an office suite, we shared an office, we shared a desk, we shared a phone. And when someone would call, if I answered the phone, if they wanted to speak to the estimator, hold 1 second. And William was the estimator. We passed the phone to him. And those humble beginnings, we did everything. We cleaned the office. We answered the phone. I handled payroll, administrative things, putting proposals together, all of those hats that, and I know there's so many entrepreneurs that are wearing many hats. Don't despise that season. And this is when I go back to the perspective. In that season, we were still happy. We were still blessed, and we still said, all is good. And so as things began to grow, it wasn't a shift in our perspective of it had to be this way by a certain date and we had to make certain revenue. We were just happy to be on this journey of being entrepreneurs. And I'll say this, and I've shared this with the platform before, is segueing a little bit to say how important representation is. I grew up around nothing but entrepreneurs, my grandfather, my father, my uncles, aunts. And so that's not where the fear was for me. See, I'd always seen that. So I knew that was possible. I knew that entrepreneurship could be done and that it was the norm in my family. But then God had to work with me, because where my stumbling block was the aim was perfection. And so I know clearly now that the goal of perfection will stop all progress. And so it wasn't, I know some people are hesitant about entrepreneurship, or how did you take that step, that leap of faith? That wasn't the big jump for me, because I had seen it done so many times before. I knew I could do it. But as I walked in my business, me being prayerful to God that he would work with me and through me to eliminate my desire for perfection, would eliminate the fear of not getting it right all the time. And as that entrepreneur, you're not going to get everything right. You're juggling, you're wearing different hats. My budget may be off this quarter. I'll tighten it up next quarter. I might have to tweak it a few times, and things happen. But the perspective is what's so important, how we walk through all of that.
And Erica, one thing that I recognized, and I may have mentioned this in times past to you before, is that how you saw yourself. You saw yourself in a different light. Your husband saw it didn't change because today I might be the receptionist, or tomorrow, I'm the CEO, or what, back and forth like that. The thing is that you stayed focused on is the vision and who you were, who God had called you to be. You weren't experiencing that level of contracts. In fact, I think you said you hadn't even gotten any contracts, but you were in business and you saw where you were going. Is that not true? And speak to that for us, because what happens is the reason the distractions win, because we don't rebound. I think I mentioned it to you yesterday. God put it in my spirit. the enemy is going to take their shot.
Right.
It's how we rebound after the opponent has taken their shot makes the difference where we win or lose, because people have received no's this year. You know, I've received a couple, and God has a plan, and I'm a part of it. There's a purpose in the no's. Can you help us with that?
I can. And I'll be completely transparent and honest here. In the beginning years of CYE, I can admit that I was attached to the role. I thought it defined me. I thought that it gave me purpose. I thought that it was my purpose. But I'm so thankful that I know that God gave me a purpose, and it's not tied to CYE. Now, this awakening, this thought was so freeing to me. It took the pressure off of how CYE was performing, being equated to how my life was going.
Okay.
So I'm blessed when profits are up and when they're down. And all is well when projects are good and when they're bad. But that only happened as I released myself from being tied to a role, a position, a platform, and only being tied to my purpose and walking in that journey. So whether I answer the phone or you come in and see me cleaning a bathroom, this is still my assignment. This is my journey. Whether this looks good enough for a post on social media, this is still my walk.
I love it.
So don't despise those beginnings. They may not look like a reel, or you don't want to post it on your story, but this is real life. This is the truth. This is the truth of my walk. This is my journey. And I don't want, at the end of the day, for all that's said about me are the highlights. I wanted that Erica every day, for people to say, you know what, there was a light. Even when she didn't get the contract, I just enjoyed working with her. I'm a relationship type person. So it's about those relationships. It's about those connections. It's about, on the way to turning a bid, I stop at the gas station and have a chat with the person, the cashier. Or I stop at Publix and talk to the person in the deli, and a connection there. But if your eyesight is only on what you view as the prize, I think you miss the beauty of the whole journey.
Wow. Because there's purpose in the walk. We've got to walk it out. And if my mom, my late mom, had this quote, we expect life to be a flower bed of ease. And it is not. You know, if we don't get into challenging opportunities, God already knows what he's placed within us. He's pulling it out of us and allowing us to see what's in us. And that's the determining factor, whether or not you win or lose. If every time I remember illnesses I've gone through, operations, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, why do some people get healed immediately? And some people have to have an operation, and, you know, you go through things and you stop comparing yourself to other people. Well, their business, it didn't take 10 years to get 20 sponsors. It took GCBN that long, but it had purpose in the process, because we're stronger now. We know whose we are and who we are in him. We've got that relationship that you're talking about with God, that we know we're in it for the long haul. If we're in a slump, that just means he wants me to get a little bit closer to him, but we're coming out. Because if God called you to it, it's going to be God that takes you through it. And his word, you know, it does not return to him void. God's not a sometimey God. I don't know if you've had this in relationship, where people say, I'm with you to the end. I'm going to hang in there. You're doing a great job. And the next time you turn around, they're stabbing you in the back and they're gone. You can't find them. So that's why you're saying, settle your calling with God first. Make sure that you're a team with God. And that's where you started off at. Erica, I got to get some of these comments in here because I'm
Okay.
just, it's just like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, they're flowing. Let me start with my Zoom folks. Thanks again. Good to see you, Jessica Nails. Oh my God, this is good. Kim, is the sound okay now? Can you hear? Because she said lost sound. Can it? You can hear me okay, right, Erica?
I
Yeah.
can.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, this is good. And the confirmation I needed in some areas. And that's a thank you from Jessica Nails. Okay, so over here on Facebook is like, oh my God, here we go. Let's get some of this out here. She said at GGG on HAT, they showed up every day to work with no contracts. You
No
showed
contract.
up every day
No
to
contract.
work with no contracts. And
And
in the early years, she said she was attached to the role, but God showed me my purpose and I wasn't CYE.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yes.
CYE was birthed out of me, out of that purpose that God, that was part of the purpose. I'm going to let you speak to that again in a second, okay? But let me get some of this out here and maybe you can just speak to all of it. In winter, somebody said, wow, Angela, hi there. Thinking my role is my definition. Whoa. Okay, so God released myself from being tied to a role, a platform. This is my journey. This is my walk. Humble beginnings. I mean, people are just saying different things. We happen to be on the journey of entrepreneurship. The goal of perfection will stop all progress. This
Mhm.
is very encouraging, Erica. Hi, Jessica. That's my Jessica over there.
Hi,
Okay,
Jay.
Bernice Lohman. Hey, girl. I got to call her. Being flexible. Yes, yes, being flexible. We pray, we plan, but don't be worried about the rest. This is good. It's just some good stuff out there. And if your eyesight is only on the prize, then you're going to miss the entire journey. They're repeating some of the things you said. Angela, there's a lesson in the journey to prepare us for the grand purpose.
Yes.
So yeah, I said, life is not a flower bed of bees. Stop comparing yourself. They're quoting me now. Okay, so God is just good. God is so good. His word accomplishes what he sent it out for. Thank you, Winter. Very, very good. There's some good activity there.
Great.
Erica, keep it coming. You've got some good stuff.
And
Help
Beth,
us
just as
more.
you were saying, comparison, I feel, is the thief of happiness and true joy. Because you'll know what God has intended for you, be happy on your journey. And have you ever gotten on social media? And I get on social media just like everyone else. It's a part of our business to market and sometimes just to use
Mhm.
it for fun. But we have to understand where it should stop. I'll share this personal experience. So after many years of trying to conceive, William and I were finally blessed in 2019. I was pregnant. And so I had never even heard of a push gift, babycation, vacation, but all these hashtags start coming up. So now I quickly go from being thankful after all these years of trying to conceive to planning out my trip to an island. I need to be on the island with a flowy dress, holding my baby bump with the photographer. And I guess William was going to be there too. Well, that's because all that was in my eyesight and in my ear gates listening to was what everyone else was doing throughout their pregnancy. And God saw fit that my journey was different. After 4.5 months, I was put on bed rest. And I cried. And because now keep in mind, I was tied to the role at CYE. So every day I go to that office. And it was so closely tied to my identity that it was hard for me to separate it. So when the doctor said, I was dressed and the doctor said, where are you headed? I said, to a meeting. He said, no, you're headed home. We're going to put you on bed rest. I cried and I just couldn't see why this was happening to me. And it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. the time that I needed and had never spent with myself, the time that I needed that I had never spent with God, understanding my purpose, disconnecting my role from my purpose, disconnecting my identity with a position or a platform, and enjoying being there awaiting our son. And so if I was on bed rest and I just kept watching people on the island, glowing, hair blowing, flowy dresses, I would have despised that journey. But I'm so thankful after I wiped my tears and William said, this is what you're doing. You're going home and you're lying in this bed. And he took care of me the entire time I was on bed rest. And afterwards is that I'm so thankful that I had the shift in the perspective. The condition didn't change. They didn't take me off bed rest. The perspective changed.
Wow. And you know, this is so powerful. Last week, Gladys Aguay got on and she's talking about the mindset. And you know what we've embraced as our definition for God and us. And I don't even think when you gave us a title that we had even clarified. All I knew that God said that this is a year of elevation. But now what we've done is we've identified elevation as a definition that God just dropped it in my spirit, is a continual ascension in your mind and aligning your feet to follow the path. It's as if the mind has a map that is given you. And I even start with something as simple as when I say elevation, you elevate opportunities for elevation experiences every day. If you didn't make your bed, and today you made it, that's elevation. You know,
Yes.
that's moving into that excellence that God has given us. And what he said as a founding for me is you go from glory to glory. He said we would go from glory to glory. And I mentioned that this morning, but in between those glories, okay, because people are like, God said glory to glory, glory to glory. But in between those glory, in between glory to glory, stuff happens. And you need to be prepared. And this is one of the things that I tell people that's so important. Lisa asked, she's doing an excellent job for us over in our Facebook group. What are 3 opportunities that you could share in the way of wisdom? And I like for you in the end, at some point, to summarize that 3 opportunities for us to answer that for us, that you can tell as advice to those that are starting or still in business or been in there for a while. What are some opportunities that you could share in those 3 areas? And I gave her my 3 right off. The first one is show up. See, we miss opportunities to experience God's best and his greatest that he has for us in life. It's because we failed to show up. No, I'm trying to do my own thing. Why I'm going to support that? Because it's a blessing over there for you. I'm feeling a little passionate. Calm me down here. But the opportunity is you and William, you will show up every day. Just as if you already from the bedroom, even when you got that little office room and shared a desk, you got to show up. There's some places you've got to go. There's some people you've got to support. And I know you do. I
Yes.
know you do. Okay. That it gives foolish things of the world to confound the wise. We get wise in our own right. And we're not hearing what God would have us to say. It's about the perspective and what you're trying to do. If you're going to do it your way, then you're going to have what you get. But if you don't do it God's way, there's the greater opportunity. Come on, talk to us.
That's so true, Beth. And just like I shared, it's in those things that don't seem exciting. When you show up, when you're in your email, when you're responding, when you're making calls, when you're going to that networking event, when you're doing the research, because there's so much information out there and you can get on social media and it snowball and you say, how did I end up looking this up? Is dedicating the time to become an expert in your craft or in your trade, but you can't do any of that unless you show up. It's getting up every day when you don't feel like it, when it's not exciting. Here in Jacksonville, it was raining today. We still get up, we still show up. And an exciting opportunity doesn't come every day. You know, this is something that I talk about a lot, is that if you're looking for the thrills, for something exciting to happen every day, I would be lying if I said every day we get a contract. Don't. Every week we pay payroll. Every month we pay rent. Every day we make sure supplies are there. We make sure our staff is there. That's not what seems exciting, but it's what keeps us taking one step forward towards the goal. And so when people see that we've reached the goal, they say, well, now look at that. All of a sudden, CYE got a contract. Not all of a sudden, but that one step, those two steps, and you look back a year later and you've come such a long way and you've progressed and you've stayed the course. It doesn't mean you didn't get off track, but being prayerful and exalting God means that hopefully when you get off track, you don't stay off track. I'm a person who wants to self-correct. So when I get off track, hopefully I'll check myself quick enough to get back on track and keep the course.
Awesome. Now, Erica, this is great. One of the things that I want you to speak to for us about relationships and expectations in other people to bring your vision to pass, or can you talk anything you can lend to us there?
I can. I feel that the expectation of others to carry your vision, to keep you motivated, is a setup. And what I mean by that is that count on no one but God. If my father used to always say, and still says, who motivates the motivator? I motivate myself. But if I'm waiting for someone to motivate me, then I'll always be disappointed because of that expectation I put on someone else. That is the only person who can fulfill that expectation is God. The only person who can keep me on track, who can, if I'm walking by faith and I don't even know how this thing ends. Now, if I'm looking for an excuse, someone shared with me the other day, they said, my father was in business and he didn't share any of that knowledge with me. And I said, and I'm sorry to hear that. That happens a lot. But we have a lot of information out here. I need you to go to an expert in your field and see if they'll be your mentor. I need you to go to a trade association. I need for you to go to an agency like the Small Business Administration. But now, if I'm looking for an excuse, I'll say what everyone else didn't do. I'm more about holding myself accountable. And what did Erica and what did William do? And where did we miss it? Because we miss it too.
Right.
And I might say, you know what? This week wasn't that productive, but next week I'm going to get it.
I'm going to get it, because we all fall short. Yes. But the opportunity is, how do you recorrect or redirect and taking ownership and responsibility? And I'm going to tell you something. What I heard even more and what you're saying is sometimes and too often we look for someone to make the way straight for us. And we don't want to invest in ourselves. We don't want to pay for a membership to Georgia Christian Business Network and become supportive and get the glean of all the great speakers and the great opportunities. As business owners, we've got to learn how to invest. And you were talking about talking to these other people. You might need a coach, and it's okay. Right. And invest in yourself. We've got lots of them at Georgia Christian Business Network. Opportunities, I can refer you, I could call off 3, 4, 5 right now that are members of Georgia Christian Business Network. And what I want you to do is look for opportunities to become more given. Because one of the things that I see with your success of CYE and your and William is you purpose to do things like that, you know, and sometimes it takes the foolish things to confound the wise. You're saying, well, why would I give when I stand in need? Well, Luke 6:38, go read it, you know. Right. You know, you got to give and it shall be given unto you. Speak to it, please.
And it's not all about what you see as a benefit to you. That's not how I look at things. A lot of things that I do, even in the roofing industry and the construction industry, a lot of people would say, so that trip I was talking about to Chicago, that was for the association. So you travel there? Do they pay you? No, they don't pay me. But this industry my family's been a part of for 3 generations, is it too much for me to give back and serve on the board? Is it too much for me to give my time and serve on a committee? Is it too much for me to come to a Georgia Christian Business Network meeting and be around peers that are going to encourage me, that are going to motivate me? Now, a lot of times we're looking for motivation in places it'll never come from, but there are places that are open and available to us, and we won't reach out and get in those groups, get in those associations. And so it's I think it's really about taking a close look at your goals, and if you're truly trying to progress, or if you're looking for a sad story on what didn't happen, because there are so many resources. And Beth, you as a amazing coach, the Georgia Christian Business Network, all of the connections that are there, and there's so many associations and organizations that do the same type of thing, maybe in your field of expertise. But you have to want that.
Wow. And you know, one of the opportunities, if you come on knowing, you're gonna miss it. If you think, well, I already got this, they can't tell me anything, you got the wrong perspective, and you got have the wrong attitude. Your behavior will make all the difference in the world. The other thing that I think is so critical too is once you start getting momentum in business, the slack opportunity. You guys at CYE are driven towards excellence because number one of what you said foundationally, you called it foundationally. God, we are created in his image and we represent him. Psalms 8 speaks of excellency of God. Sometimes what happens, and it shouldn't be named among Christian business owners, is that we go half-stepping and we don't deliver in excellence. Is so important because we name the name of the Lord, that whatever we do. Now, you don't have a servant is worthy of his hire, but we need to deliver.
Yes.
What we want a top price, and that's okay because a servant is worthy of his hire. But
Well,
the opportunity is, are you delivering?
And that's what happens when you think you've reached the goal, that there's an end mark. And that's why I always refer to entrepreneurship as a journey that's continuing as long as I'm in business. And remember, I said I started this when I was 24 years old, and this journey has taught me so many lessons, but I still continue to learn daily. But isn't that the goal, to continue to learn more about ourselves while discovering our purpose and walking confidently in our assignments? But
Wow.
we don't stop learning. So then I've seen a lot of businesses when they get to that mark past infancy, and they're in a stage usually around 7 to 10 years that is easy to take as some people say, take your foot off the gas. And I know there's seasons of motivation and levels of what you're aspiring to do in your business, but you still have to show up. And the day that I don't want to show up, we need to find something else to do. Maybe it's not, what, maybe the time is at an end for that season, but I still love what I do. I still show up. There's still
How many years? How many years?
Almost 17. It was 2004. So 17 years this year.
Well, I'm going to say something. Stick to itness, perseverance. You have to. I've been doing GCBN almost 11, a little over 11 years or something like that now. And the opportunity, today I'm this, tomorrow I'm this, next day I'm this, you got to have some stick to itness. And that's why I said, if God gave you a vision, he owns provision, but you've got to work the vision. It's just not going to be gifted on a silver plate. Listen, God says he's a worker. God works. There's a Greek word, adobah, ADOBAH, or something like that. Look it up in the concordance. And it means to work. And God is looking for people to work. You were supposed to till that garden. And so we've got to learn how to roll up our sleeves. I hear what you said. I remember people picking at me, and it hurt my heart sometimes. Like, I'm doing the best I can. You're a one woman show, And for a long time, I didn't have Lisa Muth, And now we just added a new person. We're going to introduce her via our newsletter that I realized this morning with the scheme of things that I hadn't released. Lisa had me set up a week ago, and I was mentioning it to Jessica. She's still in town, and I was like, I'm sitting there watching a movie, and I'm like, OMG, I never released a newsletter this month. Because we buried my dear sweet mother-in-law this past weekend, and things like that happen. But God gives grace.
Yes, he does.
He does give grace. But what I'm saying is, I'm no longer a one woman show. And then I stopped. When people would come around, you still a one woman show, yeah. And you know what I found out? They're no longer in business. They weren't a one woman show. They had all this in it, but I'm still here.
Right.
We're still here. And listen, and don't be embarrassed or ashamed of where you are.
No.
Let people say what they will, but you stay focused on what God told you to do.
And
don't get ahead or behind him.
And don't take their expectation of as your own. I have to accept your expectation for it to be mine. I choose not to. And really don't choose to entertain what people's opinions are about our business, about our household, about how we decide to walk our journey. As long as I've consulted with God and I'm in the right position with my husband, I release control. And that's my last point that I'll squeeze in here is after we exalt God, we elevate our thoughts, we continue to build on a solid foundation, we have to release control. And that was hard for me. Especially as a contractor, knowing the importance of planning and the type A personality where I plan, I revise a plan, and then I plan some more. I've had to make some really important changes on even how I plan. As I said before, praying before I plan, as I continue to plan, and heavily planning as I execute. But once I pray on that thing, it releases the pressure on me as Erica Jackson to know that God is in control. So how this thing works out and whether you shift it to the side and I'm flexible enough and go with you that way, it's all up to God. But to wrap everything up, these aren't things that just happen. You don't just wake up and your perspective has changed. You have to be intentional. You have to be deliberate. You have to choose to make room for God, to where there's no room for anything else to distract you. And at that point that he's been exalted, you have no choice but for your thoughts to be elevated. And if that foundation is strong and you release that control, it's a beautiful view.
Wow. I am so excited of how you summarize that today. Y'all give us 2 to 3 minutes and I promise we'll wrap. But I've got to say that this association brings about assimilation. I have to send out a shout out to Carol Mills. I want her to know I am so thankful. She's a dear, dear close friend of Erica Jackson. And she's a dear, dear close friend of mine. And this is what I want to say about association and relationships. She didn't hold Erica to herself. I was doing some coaching for Carol's family business, and iMatrix is awesome. If you need any concrete work or anything like that, they are outstanding, and I can put you in contact with them. But this is what I want to say about Carol. We were sitting in a workout, and we were taking a break with her family, and the opportunity was this. I said, we were talking about God Golfing Girls, and they're annual sponsors of God Golfing Girls. And so is Erica is our Platinum Plus sponsor this year, as a matter of fact. So you're going to see her name on our t-shirts. Okay. CYE will carry our t-shirts, and they're not t-shirts. Excuse me. I know Jess would slap my head if I don't. Our golf shirts. Okay. And so the opportunity that I'm talking about, relationships, some of you are not experiencing elevation in your business and nor your life is because you're hanging out with the wrong people. In the room that I was in, That's Saturday morning. I remember we were right here in a bigger room over there with the whole family working out, and I'm sharing with them. She says to me of her friend, "You need my friend to speak at your God Golf and Girls event." And she told me about Erica Jackson. Hear me, hear me, hear me. Those people that will mention your name in a room and you're not present. Now, there's a lot of people that'll mention your name in a room and you're not present, and it's being insulted. But when you're associated with people that will refer you and say, you need to hear her testimony of business. She needs to speak to your ladies that have always your best interests at heart. Those are the people that you need to know that God has assigned to you. And we've talked about this, Erica and I, a lot, about knowing who's assigned to you and knowing what their purpose is for that assignment in your life. See, some people are assigned to you for you to support and to help. But some people, and this is, I'm thinking I'm taking the platform, Lisa. I think I've got one slot in April. We're booked. I'm serious. And I think I may take it because we got to talk about elevation in relationships. Okay. And the opportunity that Erica Jackson, God had her sign, okay, her to me. But it took a Carol Mills to make the connection. You understand? And I know that God assigned it to us, because when I talked and I invited her to speak, I was in LaGrange, Georgia on a walk about several years ago, and I was talking to her, and then she told me in that same call, when she accepted, I'm going to sponsor your business. And that was the first time she was a platinum sponsor. I want to tell you, stop looking for people, fulfillment and affirmation and confirmation from people that are not signed. Stop looking for stuff from people that don't have it to give you. Understand what your role, toleration, celebration. Every arena you go in isn't for you to be celebrated. Some people are tolerating you. So you look for an opportunity to see, God, you got me here. Who do you want me to celebrate today? And that's my way of saying to you, Erica Jackson, when you sowed on this ground, you sowed on good ground. You didn't hesitate. Some of y'all would just be amazed. I can't tell you, but just know it will blow your mind, because you blew mine. Can I tell you that? Okay. But I'm going to tell you, that God sends forth when you're faithful, when you're praying, when you're doing the best you know how to do. He's got a plan. Somebody say it with me. God has a plan, and I am a part of it. Stop worrying about what don't matter and start elevating and looking for. Knock on some tall doors, and God's going to answer, is what we say. And Erica Jackson, I want to thank you for your humility. I put something out there. I said, I don't know if she knows something. Lisa takes liberty. I can take a liberty on a post. Okay. Okay. I said, humble confidence. Dr. Jessica, she introduced me that term, humble confidence. You don't have to go parading about what you've done and who you are, because if you do it for me, I'm going to parade for you. Okay. Because God said humility is before honor. And so in the name of Jesus, I'm blessing you all. You and William, I love it. We cut up on Instagram, William and I. Okay. I probably social media between he and I more than I do even you. But and I don't think I've never met him. I've flown to Florida for the baby shower and all that, but I never met him. But I just love you guys. And I love what God is doing with you all in Little Wheel. We thank you today for the platform. Y'all, I said 2 minutes. I need 2 more because I do some homework. And if you have a final word when I do this, I got to do some housekeeping. Visit our website, www.gcbnetwork.com. Early bird registration for GGG is open. You want to know about the virtual golf clinic. It's totally free. You need to be there because Lisa just tell them over there in the Facebook group. We've got some awesome opportunities and some great savings that we're going to pass on to you that are happening at the Golf Clinic Day. So we hope you'll join us there. Listen, tomorrow's Wellness Wednesday. Dr. Karen Borg is on the platform. I don't know, Pamela may be back tomorrow. Let's pray that. And Rich is there, our host for Wellness Wednesday, and we're talking about confidence and all this entire month. And you can follow this powerful message on elevating and understanding how to elevate your perspective to experience a better life. Listen to this replay again. I know I do. I will. I have every intention of doing so. But thank you guys for joining us. I forget who's on our Friday noon nugget. Just look at our website. Lisa's got it all updated over there. And thank you for the comments I didn't get to. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. Jerome Wilson's in the house. Y'all get ready when he joins the platform soon too. It's gonna be amazing. And he's like all over the place about those relationships. Hi, Jerome, about relationships. Powerful. Yeah, you're gonna have to speak to that too. Erica, any last sentence before we leave? Or
I just want to encourage everyone to stay in prayer, to pray for wisdom and discernment concerning not only your businesses, but as you lead in your household as parents, whatever your role is, and to get closer to God so that you know your purpose, so that you know what your assignment is in this season. And I know there's some amazing businesses that are going to explode, that are going to start, that are going to grow in 2022 and beyond. And I'm just honored again to be able to share with this whole platform.
awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jerome Wilson, I see that. He said, I want to sow. I appreciate it. We have welcomed you to do just that. And Erica, thank you so much for this opportunity to experience you on the virtual platform. We're looking forward to GGG and that keynote luncheon that you're going to share with us, some other powerful tips. And you can even go places for us as women. Okay. We love you. Thanks everyone for joining so much. We appreciate you. Jessica Neal said, amen. The best advice, chase after God, the rest will come. God has a plan and you are a part of it. God bless you all. Bye-bye now.